you have done some tests yourself with shrimp in Mississippi.
I have.
And you've noticed that the first pass already came out without a smell. While there was a very, very strong smell on the incoming material. So smell is in many cases created by bacteria, right? It's an organic thing. So when we tested that with manure, for instance, pig manure, we had exactly the same effect. It comes out without a smell. With fish, we have met that as well. I gave you the example of all the kinds of fish that we tested. So smell is eradicated, which can be very interesting for companies that are in, let's say, in urban areas where people complain about smell of food processing, of pig farms and what have you, right? Even those biofuel factories, when they are in neighborhoods, people complain about smell. Smell is a very irritating thing when you have it all day, and you don't get used to it. That's the problem. Now, with eradication of bacteria, we did not expect this, to be honest, when we designed the machine. What we first found out with pig's manure, we had a 6 or 7 gallon bin with pre-dried manure. So that means it is from 92% brought back to 50 to 55%. Very heavy, thick sludge. And we hired a company to do the test for us, and they brought a gallon jar, a bit less than a gallon, with 300 billion bacteria, innocent form of bacteria. They mixed it all up, and after 2 passes through the machine, it turned out that it had reached the level that was so low that suddenly that manure could be transported cross borders, which is not allowed here in Europe, and I know it's also not allowed in the US. But our eradication was so good that now the material was considered not to be hazardous anymore.
Which you've essentially expanded a market for fertilizer now.
Absolutely, greatly, yes, because now with the manure turns into a dry powder. I have a sample here, but I forgot to put it on my desk. I can pick it if you want and show it. But the manure, in the old days, the farmers used to spread it out over the land. Those days are long gone. It's not allowed. So you have manure processing plants over here, quite a lot of them, very, very expensive, $20+ million installations, where the farmers have to bring their manure. There's a lot of administration around it, a high, very, very, very high cost to the farmers to process that manure. Now, with our machine, you could simply process it on site, right, on the farm itself. We are planning to build mobile versions of our machine. We don't have them yet, but will definitely come in 23, where we have mobile versions that can actually visit farms once per 2 weeks, for instance, and process all the manure. Now, what comes out of it is a dry powder that can be pelletized, and these pellets can now be used for instance, precision fertilization. A big fast food chain over here has asked their potato suppliers, for instance, if they couldn't stop with fertilization that is all over the soil. The entire soil is being fertilized, but you only need it actually where you put the seedling. So if you have a dry pellet that can be put first in before you put the seedling in, then you don't spoil the rest of the soil, because if you overdo it, right, the soil will be killed. And so precision fertilization is a big trend over here, and it's the only way actually to make grounds produce high, let's say, high yields over a longer time.
That makes perfect sense. Yes, and all organic.
And all organic. And now, for instance, in the Netherlands, we have way too much manure from our pig farms and our cow farms. While in France, for instance, there are whole areas with a very poor soil quality, but they don't have these big farms. So now suddenly you can ship these pellets where you would first it wasn't allowed with the original manure, but now it is allowed. But it is also less than 10% of the weight and the volume that you have to transport, which is another advantage.